Okay, I got three major questions to finish with. So you'd mentioned China. China is Australia's largest trading partner.
Correct.
I've heard Australia on the world scale, we're only like 2% of the world's GDP or something minor. I've heard Australia described as we're nothing but a big mine with a little bit of farming, and that's it. If all the videos I'm watching online right now are true with the Trump tariff war going on, seems to be a lot of factories shutting down right now in China. They're creating a lot of instability. I don't know if their leader is going to survive this, if it creates social unrest. But I'm interested in my people, Australian people here. If our largest trading partner suffers significantly, is this just short term? They're going to come to a deal and business will go on as usual? Or are we literally seeing a restructuring of things and Australia is going to have to do something else to be financial?
Well, the Chinese economy had superior growth rates after 1985 or so, and grew very rapidly between 1990 and 2010. But since then, the population is no longer growing much and is actually at the present time declining.
Yes.
And two, the country has caught up. It's a very modern country nowadays. If you go to Shanghai or Chongqing or Beijing, these are no longer cities that need to build a lot. A lot has been built already.
Yes.
So growth, in my view, will slow down from trendline growth 6 to 12% to now for the next, 10, 20, 30 years, to maximum 4% per annum, no more.
Okay.
But 4% is not bad compared to no growth in Europe. That you have to see. And we have to look at the quality of growth. The quality of growth in China is very good. Is life pleasant? I don't live in China, but I can say that people today are much better off than 40 years ago. I mean, everybody lives much better than the parents lived at the time of Mao Zedong in the 70s.
Yes.
So there has been massive progress also in India, and this has occurred because of the market economy and the capitalistic system, not because of communism and socialism.
Yes.
People should realize, especially young people who are in favor of socialism.
Yep.
The greatest disaster for humankind is socialism, because nobody works anymore and the economy stagnates and actually retreats because no innovations are taking place. So, but I don't want to give a speech about that. It should be obvious that if you look at the history of the world in the last 50 years, countries that didn't grow before under communism, Eastern Europe, Russia, China, and India, and the policies of self-reliance and so forth, the moment they opened up, the moment they introduced reforms that are market-friendly and capitalistic, where they had a capital market and where they had incentives.
Yes.
What is important in an economy is to have incentive to work.
Yes.
And that China offers today, whereas under the communists they didn't offer that. Okay. And that's why the country has developed. Same in India, same in Vietnam. I went to Vietnam at the time of the communists. It was a disastrous experience in terms of poverty. People were partly starving. But now the country is thriving because they have a market economy.
Yep.
And I'm afraid that the Western world has silently adopted socialist policies and authoritarian policies that are disastrous for the people, because you have a bunch of bureaucrats. What do they know about COVID? They're clueless. But they told people, if you go outside your house and smoke, we will incarnate you into prison camps.
Yes, yes.
I mean, that the Australian people tolerated that is unbelievable.
Don't get me started. That's why I'm here filming videos on where else to go. All right. When I got started in my career, I knew no one. My family had no influence, no money, no nothing. My parents were just hard workers. What I turned to is what people can see behind us here. Hundreds and hundreds of books. I know you've written some books. We'll get to that in a moment. I know you've recommended books recently for people on economics and stuff like that. But my question is, was there any one or two books in your younger years or life that were really significant for you and put you on the path that you're on now or the path of your life?
Well, I mean, I obviously studied economic books, and I've read most of the classical economists, which central bankers nowadays no longer read. They read all kinds of model books.
Yes.
But one book that I think, it requires some level of sophistication. But this is a book, The Economics of Inflation, okay? And this is someone who's written this book.
Yep.
Who was working for the Ministry of Finance in Germany between 1918 and 1924.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote what monetary inflation does to society, to stock prices, to the currency, and about everything that is related to money printing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think economists, or at least financial people, they should read this book. It's very interesting. Because you understand, during inflationary times, huge fortunes are made at the expense of the majority of people. I understand. The viciousness of inflation is it destroys wealth of the lower classes and the middle classes, the little they have. But it enriches some people dramatically. We also have this in the United States and also in Australia. The last 30 years, some people have become immensely rich, but others not. And in Australia and also in the US, what is interesting, people used to say, oh, real estate, yes, and we need a commercial property. But precisely the commercial property market in America is a disaster.
Yes.
I don't know about Australia, but I can't imagine that commercial properties are doing very well in Australia.
Yes.
Except they're doing well because the government occupies all the commercial properties.
They're one of the key tenants you want to look for is government.
You're the largest.
Yeah. So if you're going to invest in commercial, it's a really good tip to do that. Just on that, I've heard you recommend that book before, and the author is Constantino Bresciani Torino.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Now, you've written at least 3 books I found on Amazon. Is there one book in particular you would recommend for people to go and check out if they had to read one of your books?
The last one is...
one was The New Gold or something? What was it called?
It's called Tomorrow's
Gold, yeah.
Tomorrow's Gold,
Yes.
Age of Discovery.
You got that here?
I mean, I think the book... I don't want to advertise it myself.
I'm asking you to. I want to know.
But it's, I think, for someone who is in the stock market and managing money or investing, an investor,
yes,
for sure he will learn something.
Okay.
Say my reports are not particularly entertaining, but if someone reads my report for a year, I think he's learned as much as going to a university and studying economics for a year.
Yeah, absolutely. Self-education.
But he has to do some work himself and look up things, because from what I write, he will not understand everything. Yes. But if he looks it up, he can go on YouTube or on ChatGPT or whatever and ask questions.
Yes.
Then he can learn a lot.
So we say self-education is worth a bucket more than formal education like university. I think you should promote your books more often. So I've never heard you mention one of your books on any of you're prolific on interviews, and they never once mention any of your books. And I think that's terrible, because you're one of my favorite people to listen to, and people would like to devour those books. So I'm glad you mentioned that one there. Okay, I got one final thing to talk to you about. I've never heard you talk about this, and I found it on your website in all the interviews I've seen you do. Now, in my business, I started it in 2007. We had 5 big goals. We wanted to train people. We wanted to create 1,000 wealthy people through our strategies that would take a portion of their money and do good with it. Another goal was we wanted to donate $1 million to worthwhile causes. I found on your website that you are involved in some philanthropic work, and I think there's a fund. I don't know if you've set it up or you're related to it or in some way. I think it's called childsfund.org or something similar.
Child's Dream.
Childsdream.org, I believe. And I've never heard anyone talk to you about this. And I think this is the reason that we get wealthy, to support ourselves and our families and then to make a difference in the world. Do you want to talk about that? Do you want to tell me about that?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call myself to be overly religious, but I'm a Christian, and I consider myself to have been unusually fortunate in everything, because I don't have any financial problems to speak of, and I'm healthy up to now, and I had an interesting and enjoyable life. So I'm very grateful to God for having had these benefits. And I consider it myself, okay, maybe I didn't consider that to be an important task when I was 30 years old or 25 or 40. But nowadays, my family is well secured, and I can disperse some funds, and I give some money to people who are in need. Now, I can't go and improve the whole world, but I can make a difference to people that I meet or are in contact with and so forth, and I can give them something. And I have friends who are involved in charities like this Child's Dream, so I give them some money, and that's it.
Awesome. And I think that's what it's all about. You want to give back. There's no, it's this scarcity versus abundance. And that's at the heart of economics, right? Who was that guy they commissioned to come up with the financial theory? And he said, economics is the study of scarce resources. The original guy, I forget his name, but my brain's in holiday mode. But I don't believe ultimately anything is finite or scarce on this planet, or if there is, there's something else that can replace it. They keep saying we'll run out of petrol and all this sort of stuff. Well, I was saying that in 1980. And here we are still going. And
yes.
I think 10 years ago, I think they said they found the largest oil discovery ever when I was on stage. And guess where that was? South Australia. In Australia.
Yeah.
We've heard nothing of it since. All this oil sitting under the Australian continent, heard nothing from it since. That was big news at the time and then just gone. So anyway, point is the abundance mindset. There's more than enough for everyone. And I love that you do that work, even though you don't speak about it or necessarily promote it. But I did see that and I thought that was fantastic. And another reason why I'm more than happy to interview with you here today. So folks, if you've enjoyed this interview, Marc's been very extraordinarily generous with his time here today and the way this interview came about. I'm gobsmacked, and that's a measure of classy people. I've never met Marc, he doesn't know about me. And this all happened in the last 24 hours from visiting Chiang Mai, and I thought I'd reach out. So Marc, again, your website, one more time,
gloomboomdoom.com.
One word,
gloomboomdoom.com.
And I just want to thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure.
It's been wonderful.
I wish you viewers and listeners all the best in their lives. So, of course, we all know that money is not the most important, but it's an important part of one's life to have one's financial conditions in reasonably orderly fashion, and not to have to worry. I also like to say that occasionally, like in the last 12 months, there has been an increase in the speculative mood of people. They all want to get rich quick. But if you look at the big wealth in the world, these are people that worked all their lives. And money came more as a bonus than the objective was to become the richest man in Australia and so on.
Yeah.
So I think that we are in a major financial bubble, and you alluded to it about this debt and so forth. A crisis is coming. There's no question about this, and I think that to own some properties is okay, but also precious metals.
On that note, you said it's important to be financially stable. It's also important to enjoy your life and your family and your friends.
Yes.
And what I like about Mark is he drinks, he smokes, and he rides high-powered motorcycles. And what's not to like about that? All right, we'll go to his website if you're interested, folks, to hear more. And Mark, thank you again, and I wish you all the best.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Ciao.